Hi students, today let us start with chapter 2, acids, bases and salts. In the previous class, we have studied about the indicators, how they help us to identify the acidic or basic nature of a solution. Today, let's learn about classification of acids. Based on source, it can be classified into organic acids and inorganic acids. Based on the strength, it can be classified as strong acids and weak acids. Based on the concentration, it can be classified as dilute acids and concentrated acids.
Now let's look at some more examples of substances in nature that have natural acids in them. Vinegar has acetic acid. Citrus fruits have citric acid. Ant sting has formic acid. Curd has lactic acid. Spinach has oxalic acid. Grapes, tamarind and unripe mangoes have tartaric acid.
Some examples for inorganic and mineral acids: hydrochloric acid, nitric acid, sulfuric acid, sulfurous acid, and carbonic acid. What's the difference between organic acids and inorganic acids? Organic acids have biological origin and they are organic compounds with acidic properties, whereas inorganic acids do not have any biological origin and they are inorganic compounds with acidic properties. What happens when an acid dissolved in water? When an acid is dissolved in water, a proton, that is hydrogen ion, from the acid molecule is transferred to a water molecule to produce a hydronium ion. This we call it as dissociation of acid. The strength of an acid is related to the proportion of it which has reacted with water to produce ions. For example, when hydrochloric acid is dissolved in water, proton, that is the hydrogen ion from the acid, is transferred to water molecule to form hydronium ion and chloride ion. Based on strength, acids are classified as strong and weak acids. What are strong acids? Acid is classified as strong acid when it completely dissociates in water. For example, hydrochloric acid HCl, nitric acid HNO3 and sulfuric acid H2SO4, they are termed as strong acids since they undergo complete dissociation and more number of ions will be present in water. Whereas acid is classified as weak acid when it partially dissociates in water. For example, carbonic acid H2CO3, acetic acid CH3COOH, they undergo partial dissociation in water, so less number of ions will be there in weak acids. Now let's learn about concentration of acids. The concentration of an acid is a measure of the amount of available hydrogen ions dissolved in a solvent. In dilute acid, the number of acid molecules per unit volume is less, but in concentrated acid, the acid molecules present per unit volume will be more. Now let's learn about classification of bases. Based on solubility, they are classified as bases and alkalis. Based on strength, they are classified as strong base and weak base. Based on concentration, also strong base and weak base. What is the difference between a base and an alkali? Base is any substance that can neutralize an acid and does not dissolve in water, whereas alkali is a special case of base that neutralizes acid and can dissolve in water. Bases do not give hydroxide ions in water, whereas alkali give hydroxide ions in water since they are soluble in water. All bases are not alkalis, whereas all alkalis are bases. Strong and weak bases. Base is classified as strong base when it completely dissociates in water. Example, sodium hydroxide NaOH, potassium hydroxide KOH. Whereas base is classified as weak base when it partially dissociates in water, like ammonium hydroxide, that is NH4OH. Concentration of bases. The concentration of base is a measure of the amount of available hydroxide ions dissolved in a solvent. In a dilute base, the number of hydroxide ions per unit volume is very less, whereas in concentrated base, the hydroxide ions present per unit volume will be more. So you learnt about the classification of acids and bases.